Okay, so next up, it's time for our second innovator presentation of the day, and I'm really pleased to welcome back Steve Evans on behalf of Intermodal Flow. Steve is actually the founder of ZeroE, the UK's first multimodal sustainable delivery company, which pioneered the use of bikes, cargo bikes, and electric vehicles to clean up urban air. Steve is now director of Intermodal Flow, where he's pioneering the next step in sustainable logistics, the use of containerised cargo bikes within intermodal supply chains. Freight is one of the biggest sources of urban emissions, and for the roundtable sessions, Steve will be joined by Phil Reed, the CEO of Intermodal's field trials partner, Varamis Rail. In the meantime, Steve's going to tell us more about unlocking urban deliveries through containerisation and explore how this model can transform zero-emission logistics across UK cities.
Yeah. So, as Mark said, I set up ZeroE in 2019 with the aim of being able to offer sustainable transport deliveries to anyone who wanted to do them. We started off with bikes and cargo bikes based just across the river in Vauxhall, and we gradually expanded, adding electric vehicles, vans, scooters, and cars. We had two problems in expanding, two obstacles. One of those was getting goods into the middle of the city sustainably. If we were shipping in from Lincolnshire or somewhere, it was very difficult to find a sustainable way of doing so because of the range of electric vehicles. So it was very cost prohibitive. If we sent a large electric vehicle, they would have to be charged halfway on the journey, and that added to the costs. The other problem was the micro-hubs. We were based in Vauxhall, but with a micro-hub, they're very expensive to run. You've got your business rate, your rent, you've got the long-term commitment, you've got insurance, security. You've got to man something that you might only use 3 hours a day, whereas you've got that overhead fixed for the year. So it's very inflexible, and the ability to expand meant that looking at London alone, we would have needed 12 or 13 micro-hubs to do that. That was a lot of capital expenditure and a lot of cost for a basic fixed overhead that was going to be very difficult to cover. But in the last couple of years, there have been some developments that can cure both these problems. One is Varamis Rail, using former passenger carriages, converted by taking out all the seats to a carriage that is capable of replacing an HGV. And it's a very fast service, currently running between Birmingham and Glasgow in half the time that it takes to go by rail. And the thing that enables us to use that facility is cargo bike containerisation. And these boxes have now been produced by companies in Germany and France. Currently, they're all slightly different, but we were able to use one of them for this trial. What we wanted to do was to do a sustainable delivery service right from the pickup right to the consumer's door. So if you look at the way things work at the moment, the customer makes an order, the shipper takes it, a van goes to that shipper, picks up the deliveries, takes it to a local depot. It then goes to a regional sort centre, which might be in the Midlands, in the west of the country, in the southeast. And from there, it's sorted and it goes to a local depot, which is invariably just on the outside of an urban area. Then a van takes it out, drives into the middle of that urban area, causing congestion, and makes those deliveries. So with our delivery trial, we wanted to pick it up at the shipper, bring it to the station, put it on the train, get it to the customer's door entirely sustainably. And we did that, but because we could use the train and we could use a containerisation. That container was pre-packed with the route, so the cargo bike rider can pick it up and go straight to the first delivery. This trial we worked with Varamis Rail. Whistle was the client, and it was funded by the Department for Transport. So this is the box going on the train. Poor quality video, I took it. I did go on the train as well, up to Glasgow. And there was one point I remember where we were parallel with the M6 on this train with 8 carriages, the equivalent of 8 HGVs. And on the top of the M6, you could see a whole convoy of HGVs going up towards Scotland. And this facility was twice as fast and no carbon. You'll notice the box is slightly different from the one that we wanted to use. I'll come on to that. So it's now in a consumer's hand and hasn't incurred any carbon, or a very small amount. So what were the findings from that? Standardization. The shipping containers have been around for about 180 years, but they only really took off when they finally decided on what the standards should be. Basically the size, 20 foot and 40 foot, but also all the joints at either end of the containers, how they work on all the intermodal facilities, such as cranes, ships, trailers, and lorries. So when you saw that box was different, because when we put the box into the van originally, it wouldn't fit, despite all the dimensions that we've been advised, because of the little locks at the top of the doors. So we had to find an alternative at the last minute. But the impact was that if we took that one carriage for the whole year, we could save 61,000 tons of CO2. 61 tons of CO2. I mentioned the other obstacle, and that is the micro-hub costs. So cargo bikes are efficient, but only if they can go to their first delivery by reducing that stem time from the micro-hub to their first delivery. That's why we had to expand in London using e-vans and e-scooters, because of the time it takes to get to the first delivery. So this is a survey that was done this year in Brussels, showing that cargo bikes with the little green sections by the micro-hub are much more efficient than vans, and therefore less expensive. And it's all about cost. We've been trying to sell sustainable deliveries for a long time. Nobody will pay extra for it. You have to match the costs. As it stands, the further they get away from the central hub, where the hexagons are yellow and orange, that means they do less deliveries per hour because they've spent all that time getting there in the first place, which increases the costs, which means vans are more efficient. So we trialed something else in Bristol, which was virtual hubs. Rather than have a micro hub, all we really needed was a space, 3 car parking spaces, just that space for an hour a day. And we can then bring in these containers from the outskirts of Bristol into the middle of town, drop them off, and the cargo bike picks them up and goes straight through.
A partnership between Zero E and Whistle. Cargo bikes meet the van at a virtual hub and load the containers during a 10-minute pit stop. The cargo bikes head off to make their local deliveries. No long ride to their first stop. The virtual hub is located close to the start of the rider's route.
So what's next? Varamis Rail are extending their network, so we'll be able to take containers pre-packed at depots into the middle of these towns. Now, you think about London, we can be coming into Liverpool Street, King's Cross, Waterloo, unloading directly off the train onto the platform, onto the back of the cargo bikes, and then serving those dense urban areas around there. So no need for a micro hub, no extra cost there, a simple drop-off, pick-up, and straight to the consumer. And then next one as well is Canary Wharf. Those are the traffic coming into Canary Wharf. They have a significant net zero target, and they want to stop vans coming in. One way to do that is using the Thames Clipper. They are bringing out an electric freight boat next year, so we're working on a trial with them to pick up containers in Erith and bring them all the way down the river, drop them off close to Canary Wharf, straight onto the back of containerised cargo bikes, and then into Canary Wharf to do those deliveries. And that freight boat the new freight boat will have significant volumes, so we can then carry on from Canary Wharf around into the middle of the city and do more drop-offs, get into dense urban areas sustainably. How can your organisation help? Well, we now know LTNs don't reduce traffic. Well, there's an announcement coming out today. Let's see what it says. Cargo bikes do. This is definite. If you see a cargo bike on the road, that means a van isn't. So we need to encourage the use of these virtual hubs and this intermodal system that we can develop in order to maximize their usage. So if you're designing LTNs or clean air zones or estates that you want to limit the traffic, please speak to the people in the business to see how you can set this up so sustainable deliveries can work. So please reach out to me after this if you'd like to talk to things about that. There's lots of underused council land. Make it easier for these sort of things to start. What I found in Bristol was that if we wanted 3 car parking spaces on the highway, we just wanted it for an hour a day at a set time, it would take a year to get that permission to change. And similarly, there were council car parks where we could have used 3 car parking spaces. Could we get that through in time? No, that would take months and months and months. We can do better. So we ended up using land owned privately and an NCP car park and another private car park because we could turn it around quickly and use those spaces. And if you're in the railway business, ease of access to the platforms. Try and make it easier for us to bring containers into passenger stations, for example, Temple Meads, and where we can roll on, roll off, roll straight directly onto cargo bikes. As I said, shipping containerisation took 150 years until they got the standardisation in place. But once it was there, it led to globalisation. Now, I think cargo bike containerisation will take less time, and it can lead to localization of last mile delivery using cargo bikes. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.